Good evening. I'm Burns Hargis, President of Oklahoma State University, and I want to welcome all of you to this year's Honors Banquet. First Cowgirl Ann and I are sorry we can't be with you tonight. We always enjoy this event. Tonight's honorees have given back to the OSU students in so many ways and made a big impact on Oklahoma and beyond. So congratulations to this year's Distinguished Alumni and CASNR Champions, Austin, Clint, Tarai, Susan, Kathy, and David. Have a great evening, and go Pokes.
Now let's recognize members of the OSU Foundation joining us this evening. Again, remain standing so we may recognize you as the team that you are. Heidi Williams, Megan Bryant, Dusty Bedwell, and James Ambrose. We're glad that you're with us this evening, and we thank you so much for all that you do each and every day to support us in DASNR. Now, as many of you may know, Dr. Kuhn and the team turned to the Dean's Advisory Council for their input on issues related to OSU agriculture. Members of the DAC who are joining us tonight are Scott Biggs, Scott Blubaugh, Scott Dvorak, Dr. Dennis White. Now, Dr. Dennis White was named a Distinguished Alumnus in 2007. We also have Mark Hodges, who was named a Distinguished Alumnus in 2009. Dr. Claude Evans. Dr. Evans was named a Distinguished Alumnus in 2009 as well. And DAC member, Mr. Keith Kissling. Keith was named a Distinguished Alumnus in 2010. We're glad you're with us tonight. Thank you. Dean's Advisory Council member. Now, you've met some of our past recipients of the Champion and Distinguished Alumni Awards, but also here to help us induct the 2019 honorees are Mr. Ron Hayes, who was named a champion in 2011, and also Ms. Linda Klein, who was a champion in 2015, and Mr. J.D. Wagner, who was a champion in 2019, as well as Mr. Matt Waits, and a Distinguished Alumnus in 2016, Mr. Randy Davis, a Distinguished Alumnus in 2013, and Mr. Tommy Kramer, Distinguished Alumnus in 2012. So thank you all for coming back and celebrating again this wonderful evening. So those are the introductions. So we are all so glad that everyone is here tonight. As we enjoy dinner, we begin the main attraction of honoring this year's group. The 2019 honorees for Distinguished Alumni are Austin Kenyon, Clint Roush, Tarai Trent, and Suzanne Wasson. And our 2019 champions are Kathy Knowltonsmeyer and David Waits. This award has been presented since its inception in 1983, and the people you are about to meet are truly inspiring, and they of course make Oklahoma State and our college so very proud. So please direct your attention to the video screens as we introduce tonight's first honoree.
Austin Kenyon is internationally known for his registered cattle operation and his premium breeding of cutting horses, but it's the growing of plants and people that got him where he is today. Austin grew up in Dover, Oklahoma. At the age of 12, he began working at the nursery his father and grandfather owned. He started at Oklahoma State, then known as Oklahoma A&M, in 1956 as a vet med student.
Well, Austin has always bled orange and black, and from the time, I guess, that I didn't realize this, but had played a little bit for Coach Iba, which I think would make any of us bleed orange and black. We might bleed a lot.
Both his major and the name of the school would change, with Austin receiving a degree in horticulture from Oklahoma State University.
As a student, he was involved with greenhouses. They were south of the location of the current Ag Hall, and of course at that time everything was glass. A hailstorm took out all of the glass in the greenhouse, and as a student, Austin was hired to replace that glass.
Austin went on to receive his master's at Iowa State, but would return to OSU a few years later as a professor. But it was when he took a job at Greenleaf Nursery as production and general manager for his friend John Nichols in 1966 that his career really began. During this time, Greenleaf grew into one of the largest wholesale nursery growers in North America, opening facilities in Texas and North Carolina. And Austin would eventually become part owner of the company. As the nursery grew, Austin knew exactly where to get great employees.
So I started here at Greenleaf when I was 16 years old, a high school student. I had planned to go to Northeastern here locally and be a teacher because it was all I could really afford. And Austin was running the company at that time and approached me one day about my interest in going to Oklahoma State and actually took time away from his busy schedule to take me to Stillwater, which was pretty awesome, and introduced me to the professors there in horticulture, show me around the campus. I mean, it was an unbelievable day for a young 17-year-old kid.
Austin would again return to help OSU, but this time as a member of the Board of Regents.
Austin's a kind of a quiet guy. To be honest, he's not real outspoken. But I was, talking with someone who was familiar with him when he served on the Board of Regents and said, he really didn't say a whole lot, but when he spoke, people listened because it was important and he got the point across.
And Austin continues to give back to the university. Greenleaf was a major supporter of the new OSU Greenhouse and Learning Center.
When we had the grand opening in August, what a treat to see Austin there and to see him really kind of relish the role that he played in building this greenhouse that didn't involve any glazing on his part.
Greenleaf took the opportunity to donate to the new Greenhouse Learning Center, and we're very proud of that, and it's a state-of-the-art facility that is going to produce world-class students for several years, and hopefully some of those will end up at Greenleaf and help grow us and keep us strong and make us stronger.
Considering the number of OSU graduates already at Greenleaf, they will be in good company.
We are all graduates of Oklahoma State University, and we want to say, congratulations, Austin, and go Pokes!
Austin Kenyon, a 2019 Distinguished Alumnus of the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Dr. Kuhn. I really appreciate this honor from the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources. Being recognized as a distinguished alumni, it means a lot to me. I'm humbled to be included with such a distinguished group of honorees, both past and present. OSU has been a major factor in my life since I was 17 years old. And now I'm 80. I'm an alum. Needless to say, I graduated in 1961 with a degree in agriculture. Then we just called it agriculture, which had quite such a long name. And actually it was in horticulture. And then I went on to Iowa State and got my master's in horticulture. Worked a year as an extension specialist in Manhattan, Kansas, and then came back home to OSU as a professor for 3 years. Later on, I was on the Board of Regents while I was working at Greenleaf. One note aside, this is my 56th consecutive year to have season football tickets. I've seen a lot of bad football games. I enrolled at Oklahoma A&M in the fall of 1957, and then I think in the spring of '58 they changed it to Oklahoma State. So I started out as an Aggie and ended up as a Cowboy. However, I was not prepared academically to come to OSU. I found out as soon as I got here. I was 10th in my class in high school, but there was only 10 kids in the class. I enrolled the first year here, and I had never looked in the microscope. I'd never had a science course. I'd never had any chemistry. To say that I was ill-prepared for college is an understatement. But the first semester I was playing basketball and enrolled in 16 hours and took in organic chemistry. The first day of class, the prof walked in, there was about 75 kids in the class. He called roll and he said, raise your hand if you've never had chemistry before. And there was about 20 of us that had not had any chemistry at all. And this man, he's always been kind of an inspiration to me because I'm pretty sure he kept me from flunking out of college my first semester. He said, all right, besides the class time, you're going to have a study session on Tuesday and Thursday evening for 6 hours starting at 6 o'clock. He said, now this is college. You don't have to go if you don't want to, but if you want to pass, you better do that. And I'm sure he didn't receive any credit for that or any extra pay, but he sure made a bunch of us grateful for what he did for us. My sophomore year at OSU, the Hort Club took a field trip to eastern Oklahoma, and we went to Ozark Nursery in Stillwell Foods and several vegetable growers in Bixby. But the thing that excited me was a small, a small wholesale nursery growing plants in containers on the banks of Lake Tenkiller. And John Nickel, it was his nursery, and he gave the tour. And little did I know that this was going to lead for my career to speak. I've been at Greenleaf for over 50 years now. And no one has ever had a better partner than John Nickel. If we've ever had a crossword, I don't remember it. Today, Greenleaf has 3 container production sites, one in Oklahoma, one in Texas, one in North Carolina. And this entails a total acreage of 1,070 acres. Well, to the wheat farmers in Kansas, that doesn't seem like very much. But we got a little more intensive operation, and we go roughly I was trying to think of the number of plants. It's about 960 plants per bed, and the bed's 8 foot wide by 100 foot, so it's probably 54,000 1-gallon plants per acre. So there's quite a few of them out there. In closing, I can say that I love OSU. I love my wife and my kids the most. I love Greenleaf Nursery the second, and I love OSU the third. Thank you.
Clint is a really impressive guy. He not only has served as a college professor and a full-time farmer, but he is also a leader in our agricultural industry and in rural Oklahoma.
That leadership began on an Arapaho farm, participated in 4-H and FFA, and continued during his time at Oklahoma State University. Clint Roush was president of the Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity, as well as being active in Aggie X and the Ag Student Council.
So as he was finishing his doctorate, Dr. Roush was recruited by the department head in Ag Econ here at OSU to join the faculty and asked him to teach ag finance and farm management.
Little did he know, the future Associate Vice President of the OSU Cooperative Extension Service was one of his students.
We did practical things in that class. So I remember one of the exercises that we did was I went home, and maybe it was over a period of weeks, but worked with my parents on developing a cash flow statement for our farm.
But Clint and Pam both were 4th-generation farmers.
At one point, he and his wife Pam decided they were going to return home to Custer County, and both of them engage in full-time farming again.
You see the soul of Clint Roush when you travel around that farm with him and hear him tell the stories about, you know, what's going on in this field and why they've changed crops there, and some of the threats that they're looking at.
With his knowledge of agricultural economics and real-world producer experience, soon industry was seeking his leadership as well. Clint has served on several local, state, and national boards of directors, including CoBank and the U.S. Ag Bank. Clint also was on the advisory council for the Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank.
He's also used kind of his unique experiences as both an academic and as a farmer to inform lots of people, lots of decision makers, boards, councils, and so on.
We have a couple of chairs in our department, the Fitzwater Cooperative Chair and also the Oklahoma Farm Credit Chair in Agricultural Finance. And Clint, among others, was very instrumental in helping us develop both of these chairs, which have had a significant impact on our department.
He's held many other leadership roles in the state of Oklahoma and in the ag industry, more broadly defined. So he's really left a mark on the agricultural industry, both in Oklahoma and really across the region.
For his years of dedication and service, Clint received the Oklahoma Governor's Outstanding Achievement Award in Agriculture and was inducted into the Oklahoma Agriculture Hall of Fame in 2016. A highlight of his career, made even better by sharing it with his wife, children, and grandchildren.
And I think the most significant part of the day for Clint was having his family with him to celebrate that wonderful event. So that tells you a lot about his character and his priorities.
Clint Roush, a 2019 Distinguished Alumnus of the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources.
Wow, what a day. I'll always remember this moment, and I thank you, Dr. Kuhn, and I also thank all of the people in the Ag Division that set this up tonight. This is the first time I've seen those pictures, and I've got to see my family here to get to see what I was like when I was a young man. But, you know, all I can say is God is good. God's providence in our life has put us in the right places at the right moment, the right time, and with the right people. And Oklahoma State is one of those wonderful places that we have been able to share with for many years. In fact, I graduated the first time in 1969, so this is our 50th year of graduation, and I've enjoyed every moment of it, and all the relationships, starting back in 1965, coming from a high school of 16 students. I had a lot of help along the way, starting as an undergraduate, then on to graduate school, and then I got to serve on the faculty for 7 years. Met a lot of students, and got to work with a lot of people I was an ag finance instructor, and I got to meet a lot of people out in the country in extension work as well as the teaching. I guess my claim to fame while I was here is I've got a Regents professor in my class, Damona Doy. And Wade Brochen, I believe, was also Regents professor, and so that's my claim to fame while I was here at OSU. But the most memorable moment tonight to me is being in this student union ballroom. My first date with my wife, Pam, was out here in a student union ballroom at the Agriculture Awards Banquet. That was our first date, and we're getting ready to have our 50th wedding anniversary here this spring. So. I'd like to thank all of those people that talked during the video there. I didn't know who they were going to be, but they're my friends, and I really appreciate it. And also, I'd like to introduce my family while they're here. Is Courtney, our oldest daughter, and her husband, Jamie. They live at Guyman, Oklahoma. And then Rusty and Chandra. Rusty's the manager of our farming operation now, and they live just very close to us back home in Arapahoe. So I appreciate them being here tonight. We have one daughter, but she's in Kansas City tonight. But we have our first graduating senior grandchild will be here next year. So we're going to be starting a series of about 15. Hopefully all of them, we can convince all of them to come to Oklahoma State University, the best place to be. Thank you very much.
Education and hard work has led Tara Trent to a better life, not only for herself, but for thousands of others touched by her efforts. Tara grew up in a cattle herding family in rural Zimbabwe.
She used her brother's books to learn and to teach herself how to read. And she learned how to count by counting the cattle out in the field.
When she was a girl, she was considered as chattel. Her parents wanted her to marry young. In fact, she did. She had several children in her late teens.
But a fateful meeting with Joe Luck of the nonprofit Heifer International gave her hope to follow her dreams.
What she ended up doing was based upon a book that she wrote later on, a children's book. She actually took her dreams and wrote them down on a piece of paper and put them in a can and buried that can.
7 years later, Tara moved to Oklahoma with her husband and children for an agriculture education degree.
And at the time she came, she didn't really know what to do because they were out of money, because Zimbabwe's inflation increased several thousand%.
Tara would have returned home if not for the supportive community at OSU and Stillwater.
We got her some money from a very wealthy alum who understood her circumstances and paid her debt. The university was very gracious in helping her to spread that out over time.
She had a lot of struggles, but it just always amazed me how unperturbed she would get with these distractions and problems that would come up. And I think it has to do with her faith in God and the willingness to just kind of keep calm and keep going forward.
In 2003, Tara earned a bachelor's degree in agricultural education. Her husband returned to Zimbabwe and later died of HIV. But Tara remained at OSU and began working on a master's of plant pathology. There she met the love of her life, Mark Trent, a fellow graduate student in the program.
Mark was just a wonderfully supportive person in the lab, helping Tara to work through her challenges. She was raising 5 children, all of elementary age when she came.
She and Mark married, and Tara was hired by Heifer International to help others in developing countries. She later received her PhD from Western Michigan University. When her story was featured in the book Half the Sky, she found herself on the global stage and realized that she could make even more of an impact. After appearing on her show, Oprah Winfrey was so moved by her story that she pledged $1.5 million. Together, they rebuilt the school in her African village.
When she returned to Zimbabwe, she found the can that she had hidden years ago, and she marked off the goals that she had dreamed at that time: to go to the United States, to earn a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a PhD, and to return to her village with the gift of education.
Tara would go on to build many schools in Zimbabwe when she formed Tara Trent International. Its mission is to provide universal access to quality education to children and empower rural communities. And recently, she was honored to be one of 10 women immortalized with a bronze statue outside of New York's Rockefeller Center.
We at OSU are honored to be included in her story and to have been a part of her fulfillment of those dreams.
Tara Trent, a 2019 Distinguished Alumna of the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources.
I don't know where to begin, but let me say many have heard my stories and many may have come to the conclusion that, oh, poor Tererai, she must have been a victim. But let me say this to you. No, I wasn't a victim and I'm not a victim. I am part of the solution. I am a dreamer. I am the master and mistress of my own destiny. I refuse to let the past define who I am, and I refuse to let the present challenges in my pathway become the narrative that I can use. I defied the rules of my father. I defied the norms of my culture, and I'll never be silent about societal expectations that marginalize women and girls to be submissive at the expense of their dignity, and I'll never be silent. And thank you very, very much. Seriously, Oklahoma State University was home for me. I came to this country when I was poor with nothing. I stand on your shoulders. And if I have to mention each individual here, I'll end up writing a book. But there's a special man that I want to thank this evening, Dr. Ron Beer. Without this man, I don't think I would be here. I also have another special man that I want to thank this evening, Dr. Bob. Where are you? Thank you. He was my academic advisor. He stood by me. And there's another special guy that I want to thank this evening, Mark Trent. I can tell stories. And there's another special guy that I love so much. You know, when I think about this award, I think about the baton. I think about redefining that baton of poverty and how we pass on a better baton to the next generation. I have my grandson in this room. This is all about the next generation. My mother said to me, Tererai, if you dream and you achieve this dream, not only are you defining who you are, but you are also defining every life that comes out of your womb and generations to come. Zion, my grandson, thank you. Please stand up, young man. You can do better than that. I am handing over this baton to you. You will do better because you come from good stock. Oklahoma State University, you gave me the foundation to excel. You inspire me to continue to give back to my own community. Today we have 12 schools that I am building. 38,000 kids have passed through our school system. This could not have happened without Oklahoma State University and its community accepting me, poor, marginalized African woman coming to a foreign land, and you stood by me, provided everything for me so I could excel, and today I am able to give back. And you believe in Ubuntu. I am because we are, since we are, therefore I am. Thank you.
Suzanne Wasson and her family moved to the Poto area in eastern Oklahoma when her father decided to follow his dream to be a rancher.
We had a really great childhood. Some people would say ideal, but for us it was a wonderful experience growing up out in the country.
Suzanne and her sisters grew up raising Santa Gertrudis cattle and showing livestock. Suzanne left Poto to attend Oklahoma State University, receiving a degree in agricultural economics and accounting in 1988.
We tried to keep her here, but we lost her. She went to Texas A&M and earned a master's. And After that, she went directly to Dow.
Suzanne came through the Dow Elanco and then Dow Agri-Sciences side. She started in finance. She moved into sales and got that, kind of went back to her roots in our range and pasture business, and then came back into our business center in Indianapolis.
Probably 35 years ago, I started a business card collection of all Ag Econ students. Well, Suzanne was moving up so fast, I had to replace her card quite frequently.
One of the things that really strikes me is she has what I would call a quiet charisma. People really are attracted to be around her, to work with her. It's not surprising that she has been at a leadership level and continued at a key leadership level in the industry.
Suzanne is now the president of the crop protection business platform at Corteva Agriscience, a company formed out of the merger of Dow and DuPont.
You know, our family was always big about you've been given a lot, so you need to give a lot back, and I think she really takes that to heart too.
While at Dow, Suzanne organized her fellow Cowboy alumni to create a scholarship, an effort that would have some unforeseen benefits.
Dow Agri-Sciences had contributed through an ed to education program for many years, and actually once Corteva came together, we recognized that giving that Suzanne was a part of, and she made sure that that ceremony was sequenced with a home football game to take advantage of the trip here and to really touch her roots as an Oklahoma State alumni.
Suzanne and her sister Diana also created an endowed scholarship, one honoring their father.
We had talked about it for a long time and felt like we wanted to honor Dad in a way that would be really meaningful to him. And he was a 1964 graduate of OSU.
But perhaps her biggest gift is the leadership she provides to those just beginning a career in agriculture.
I think of her as a mentor to so many people. We hire a large number of young women into the ag industry, and she serves as a wonderful role model to them, as well as the gentlemen that join our company.
And so as you look at her career and what she has accomplished, it's impressive at any level. And she is a role model for all CASNR students.
Suzanne also serves on the boards of several nonprofit organizations, including the National FFA Foundation.
And I'm just so proud of her. She's accomplished so much in her life.
Suzanne Wasson, a 2019 Distinguished Alumna of the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kuhn, and it's such an honor to be here tonight with these other fabulous distinguished alumni of the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State. Go Pokes. So, you know, it's interesting for me to be able to come back. I've spent a lot of time outside of the state of Oklahoma in Indiana and abroad as well. And I think back to when I started and was thinking about college, and my parents, both who aren't here anymore, took me on the initial college trip, and I was born in Texas, so we started in Texas and worked our way north looking at different colleges. And, you know, my dad basically said, you know, I'm really okay with almost any of these places except University of Oklahoma. You can't go there. So anyway, but really just thought, what a great place Oklahoma State is. And, you know, it's funny now because my sister, who we're Irish twins, we're less than a year apart, and I was the shy second child she did all the talking for me, and people are like, really, you didn't talk before? But that's the way it was. And I begged her to stay in the dorm with me because I didn't want to live with someone I didn't know because I was really shy. So we lived together our first year in the dorm, and you know, my mom was all about meeting people, so she really wanted me to be in a sorority. And you know, it's interesting because I met my good friend Krista, who's here with me, as a Tri Delta, and we've stayed in touch all these years. And when I was in Ag Econ, I met my other good friend Nancy, who's with me tonight, and we developed such a good friendship. And her sister Karen, who's here along with Jody, these two young ladies work for Dow Chemical, and I got to meet them one day, and I thought, wow, I was so impressed with them and thought that would be a good company to work for today, in the future. And I've ended up having a 30-year career with Dow Elanco, Dow AgroSciences, and now Corteva AgroScience. And when I think about, what's so special about Oklahoma State and the College of Ag in specific, I think it's culture. And people often ask me, why did you stay with one company for 30 years? And I say, one, I really like what I do. We develop products to help farmers because we're trying to feed the world in the future. But more important than that, I love the people I work with. And when I came into the College of Ag, I really felt that the culture of being a family, of being part of something, feeling that you belong no matter where you came from, and having that opportunity to come full circle with a company for 30 plus years, and at the same time have the opportunity to come back here for this recognition is incredibly special. So thank you very much.
What an impressive group, and what tremendous speeches tonight. My goodness. Congratulations, alumni. At this time, I want to thank some of our volunteers who make this evening go smoothly. We have Mr. Jacob Sestock. Jacob, would you wave, please, and tell everyone hello? He's over here. Jacob is an Ag Economics senior. He's also the chancellor of our Alpha Zeta Honors fraternity. We have Miss Alexis Smith here helping with the medallions. Alexis works in the dean's office with Dr. Kuhn and the team, and she is a senior in animal science and business from Modesto, California. And Ms. Cassidy Spradlin is here. Cassidy, would you stand? Cassidy graduated in May with her bachelor's in animal science and business, and she decided to stick around Stillwater for a little while, is working full-time for OSU, and is considering graduate school. And after tonight, we think she should stay in the College of Ag, of course. While not alumni of our college, champions do hold a very special place because of all they've done over the years to support our mission areas, be it research, instruction, or extension. We couldn't do what we do without people like you. So please direct your attention once again to the video screens as we introduce our first champion of the evening.
Kathy Noltensmeyer is not your usual ag philanthropist. She and Leo, her late husband, grew up around agriculture, but both left their family farms to attend OSU. It was at the university that they met, fell in love, and went on to have successful business careers. But after Leo passed away in 2015, she wanted to create a legacy for both of them with OSU.
She was looking at various fields from agriculture to business to veterinary medicine, and her and Leo both had farm backgrounds, but her career was in mortgage banking and his in sales.
She knew that her gifts to agriculture would honor the generations of farming families who came before them. But ironically, it was reading about the death of Marvin Stone that made her realize that she could help create the future of agriculture. Marvin Stone was a leader in developing the Green Seeker, one of the first precision agriculture sensors.
So precision agriculture is basically using technology to detect what the plants need at the time they need it and applying it, whether it's water, nutrients, planting time, whatever.
So it's a win-win situation environmentally and from farmer perspective because one, they get to apply less, but they are getting more yield.
Much of the early research in precision ag was done at OSU by Marvin Stone with his colleagues John Soley and Bill Ron. Tragically, Marvin and his wife Bonnie were killed during the homecoming parade crash.
Marv was the smartest man I've ever sat in a room with. He was absolutely brilliant. But he was also, despite his brilliance, was incredibly humble, kind, considerate of others.
And in September of this year, John Soley passed away as well.
This technology wouldn't have been possible If it wasn't for the collaboration that plant and soil science had with Biosystem, Dr. Ron working with Dr. Marv Stone and Dr. Joan Soley, I think that was a beautiful thing.
With Kathy's help, Bill Ron is extending precision ag to those who need it the most with the OSU Hand Planter. Families in developing countries can build the hand planter using local materials.
Hand planter could be something farmers who only own small acreage, like 1 or 2 acres, could use, because otherwise they are not using the proper equipment required for the very first step to have good yield, which is planting techniques.
In Central America, Africa, Asia, they're throwing down 2 to 3 seeds. The problem is all 3 seeds will come up, but not before they compete with one another. So the yield levels go into the toilet.
While Kathy is enjoying traveling in retirement, she knows that she will always have a home in agriculture.
Kathy has really enjoyed getting involved with the areas that she has supported within it and the campus visits that she's made annually. She has most recently brought her grandchildren back to campus and really wants to see that Knowlton-Smeyer legacy continue here.
Kathy Knowlton-Smeyer, a 2019 champion for agricultural sciences and natural resources.
A little more music. It's going to take me a minute here. I about panicked when I realized that I didn't have my glasses. You know, the older you get, the smaller print gets. But everybody's done such a good job and spoken extemporaneously that I feel kind of like I'm cheating here. But good evening. I'd like to thank the wonderful ladies at the OSU Foundation who helped guide me in deciding which direction my gifts would go. Thanks to Heidi Williams, Megan Bryant, and 2 ladies already retired, Kathy McNally and Mindy McNally. My interest in the College of Agriculture really began with a couple of articles I believe I read in the OSU magazine. One described the project, the Green Seeker Optical Sensor System, developed by Dr. Stone and his team, and the other article referenced work being done on a hand planter project directed by Bill Ron. All of a sudden, it was like a whole new world had opened up, and I wanted to know more about the work being done here. I was introduced to Dr. Kuhn, and his encouragement was very helpful in my final decision to use the monies my husband and I had saved over our 49-year marriage to help fund future projects in the College of Agriculture. There are 2 reasons I felt this college was a good fit to share our savings with. As mentioned before, the exciting and important work being done by the students and faculty here. It's world-changing, and I feel it's a good investment in the future for our country and for the world. Number 2, I wanted to honor our 2 families, the Knowlton-Smeyers and the Lynns, who were farmers and involved in agriculture for over 150 years. Each family, 150 years. My family, the Lynns, came from Ireland to Kingsport, Tennessee in 1803. Well, the real story is that John Lynn was asked to leave Ireland in 1798. He was kind of involved in not a good way in the rebellion. But anyway, he came to Kingsport, Tennessee, and farmed, had businesses for many years there. This farming culture continued as the children of this original Lynn fanned out across Ohio, Illinois, Kansas, and finally Oklahoma. The Knowltonsmeyer family came from Exim, Poland to Hope, Missouri sometime in the mid-1850s, and their children eventually moved to Texas and Oklahoma, always farming. So I'm pleased to accept this lovely medallion in loving memory of my husband Leo and all the sturdy and hardworking farming families that came before us. Leo and I were the last in our families to own or inherit a farm, and both were sold over 30 years ago. It breaks my heart that our grandchildren won't enjoy growing up and learning about the real world on a family farm. Again, I thank Dr. Kuhn for his guidance and the folks at the OSU Foundation for helping set up the paths of sharing that I have followed and that have brought me here tonight. Thank you.
David Waits has changed the face of farming, something that he was uniquely prepared for.
He was able to pair his background in farming with his education in GIS and remote sensing. To be one of the guys that helped create this industry.
But he started his career at the ground level by working the fields during one of the most difficult times in agriculture.
Dad was a farmer in Kansas in the 70s and early 80s.
As so many of us in the 80s went through what we went through, he went through the farming episode of the 80s, came back and did a master's degree in geography.
While at OSU, my dad got exposed to GIS and remote sensing, so geographic information systems and remote sensing, and then saw the application for agriculture.
After graduation, NASA hired him to look at how agriculture remote sensing could be commercialized. David realized he could start his own company and returned to Stillwater to teach geography.
And came on as a professor at Oklahoma State University and brought that grant with him. And that helped to fund a lot of the early years of what we were trying to accomplish.
Hiring a number of his former students, he started Site-Specific Technology, or SST, in 1994.
It was a lot of fun. It was very dynamic. There was a lot of challenges because this was new, and you had to work very hard at selling it in those years, and which David was very good at doing.
And really was a company that was just bootstrapped. Dad and a few of the other guys just got in cars, drove all over the country, went to trade shows, demoed software to people.
So what they were doing is they built a software platform that allowed agricultural producers, consultants, and land managers to look at data, to manage data, and then therefore make recommendations from that.
Eventually, David would bring his son Matt in as CEO. After remaining in the forefront of precision agriculture for more than 20 years, SST was purchased by ProAgrica in 2018.
You've got an international company, ProAgrica, that sees the value of the genius that started here in Stillwater with David Waits and his team. And so today, that drive to help producers be more efficient and more profitable in their operations has been picked up and is now being amplified around the world.
Matt is now the president of the Americas region for ProAgrica. But what about David?
What's Dad doing? Dad is, he's having fun. He's retired now. Spends a lot of time riding Harleys with his buddies. He's been lately buying a bunch of old Willie's Jeeps.
But you know, he's worked to the point to where he's getting to enjoy those fruits of that labor. And I say kudos to him.
David Waits, a 2019 champion for agricultural sciences and natural resources.
I've got a cheat sheet tonight too. Well, this is a good deal. This is really fun. You know, as I look around this room, I notice that I sure do have a lot of good friends here. And, you know, seeing them at the reception and just seeing who's here. And we've got 2 or 3 tables of wonderful friends over here. And I think you came here to support me tonight, and I want to thank you very much for doing that. You know, it means a lot. And of course, I want to acknowledge my wife, Cindy, and my 2 sons, Matt and Mark, and their lovely wives, Christine and Brandy. And I thank you for always being there for me. You know, it's very meaningful to me that the College of Ag would honor me in this way. You know, as it's been established here tonight, I'm not even a graduate. And I've often remarked to people over the years that if I had it to do all over again, I would have attended OSU the first time, you know, out of high school. I went to a small liberal arts college, a church college, and kind of got off on the wrong foot. And, you know, so I would have come to Oklahoma State the first time with my buddies AJ and Brad, and I'd have studied agricultural economics. I'd have pledged Alpha Gamma Rho. That's what I'd have done if I could do it all over again. But I didn't do it that way. I had to make it really complicated. Very circuitous route. I quit school. I quit college. Went back home. I got married, had 2 little boys, farmed for 10 years, and it was mainly my dad's operation, but I pretty well ran it, and had a good 10 years, had a good run. Except, you know, we hit some hard times in the early 80s, and one day I looked at my wife Dana and I said, hey, let's go back to school. And let's just start over. And she was a trooper, very supportive. She wanted to finish her degree as well. You know, I tell people, you know, like Bill Richardson on that video, it's like David went back to go to graduate school. Well, yeah, I really went back to finish a bachelor's degree, is what I really went back for. And, you know, some really good things happened when I came back down here at Oklahoma State University. I finished up a degree, and so did my wife Dana, in economics. Part of that's just that was the most efficient way to get that bachelor's degree. And it was over in arts and sciences. But I had an opportunity to take a couple of personal interest classes as electives in geography. And when I got over in geography, I ran across this technology called remote sensing, and I was exposed to GIS, at least the concepts of GIS, and I'm talking mid-'80s now. And I could see pretty early on, after farming for 10 years, that there might be a place to use geotechniques in production agriculture. Now, if I hadn't have had that circuitous route and farmed for 10 years, well, you know, I wouldn't have seen any particular reason for agriculturalists to be interested. And so, in retrospect, the delay in finishing my college studies actually worked to great advantage. I was older and more mature and really hit the books and, you know, made the most of it. I decided that I wanted to go on and study this remote sensing and GIS thing in a little more detail, and ended up doing a master's degree here at OSU in geography, as has been mentioned. And, you know, that spurred me on to do even more. I was kind of like becoming a professional student at this point. And, but at least my wife had a good job at that time. So I searched out a particular program, an interdisciplinary PhD program that would allow me to structure pretty much my own research program, kind of an applied research program that concentrated on remote sensing in agriculture. And that gave me an opportunity to take a job down at Stennis Space Center, Mississippi, and then to come back to Oklahoma State, which by this time was my emotional home and still is, and teach GIS remote sensing here on faculty. The timing couldn't have been better in a lot of ways. Look what happened in those intervening years. Computers were just getting developed, and where you could even use a person. I'm talking about personal computers. You know, things like the global positioning system didn't come into play until the early 90s, mid 90s. You know, the internet, I mean, we'd had a hard time doing what we've done, particularly, I mean, we just had a hard time without the internet. And so, you know, the timing really couldn't have been better. And so I'm really fortunate that I delayed that 10 years that we talked about in the first place, and I want to recognize that. Another thing that I want to say here at the end, that, you know, the problem that we've tried to solve at SST, it's truly a multidisciplinary problem. And our whole company was formed on the idea that we had to have a group of people from several disciplines all working together in teams. Because none of us know all of the things that we need to know to pull off a software development company, or to know what agriculturalists are trying to do, or, you know, develop these applications. So the College of Agriculture here at OSU was extremely important to us in this effort. We hired quite a few OSU Ag students through the years, you know, plant and soil science, biosystems, ag economics, various engineering departments, I mean, you know, in engineering, and geographers and computer scientists and all the people it takes to put together this team so that everybody can work together. And I'm thankful to OSU Ag for being there for us, and we're trying, you know, Matt's got, you know, a program through Pro Agrica, and we started SST Software, where we're trying to provide scholarships to students over here in Ag to keep that pipeline coming. Anyway, I just want to thank Dr. Kuhn and everyone in DASNR that's had a hand in thinking about me for this wonderful award. I feel very honored.
Honorees and your families and special guests, would you please stand so that we can recognize you all one more time? Please. Our website lists all of our past recipients of these awards, and you heard some of those who are with us tonight mentioned in Lyndall's introductory comments. I'd also like to call out Mr. Ron Hayes, who again was a champion named in 2011. Ron was the voice on those videos tonight, and he tells the story so well. We so appreciate that he's willing to come back each year and help us tell the compelling stories of the people that we wish to honor. I'd also like to mention another past honoree, and his name is Ross McKnight. Ross is a graduate of our Department of Animal and Food Sciences, and we honored him in 2014 as a distinguished alumnus of our college. And as you all know, last week we opened the McKnight Center for Performing Arts, named for and by Ross and Billy McKnight. That was just a few weeks ago, and it's still fantastic. It's magnificent to see it there as you leave tonight. Perhaps you'll see it. I think there was a concert tonight, perhaps a pianist playing anyway. Really a tremendous impact that Ross and Billy have had. As we wrap up the evening, I have one last mention, and that is I want to call attention to our faculty. A number of them are here this evening. Some of them weren't able to come, but you've heard them on the videos, some of them. And I just want to say how deeply we appreciate the work of our faculty. The care that they take, the culture that Suzanne talked about, it's still here. And it is endemic to this college. You can't shake it. It's represented in everyone who's here and the many other faculty who affect our students. And so I just want to say how deeply I appreciate their work and would like to honor them as well tonight, if you would help me. I also want to call attention to my good friend and colleague, Dr. Carlos Risco, the Dean of our College of Veterinary Medicine. I have to tell his good news. Yesterday, he got notice from the accrediting body for veterinary colleges that our accreditation is back and fully in place. So congratulations, Dr. Risco. So it's great to be an OSU Cowboy, and speaking of that, we're thinking about future Cowboys as well. We've got 15 Roush grandchildren, right, that we've got to prepare for. I heard that tonight. And so I just want to give you a little window peek into our new Frontiers campaign. As many of you know, we are working on, with many of our colleagues at the OSU Foundation, the silent phase of a capital campaign that will result in building a new building for our college, laboratories, classrooms, student spaces, offices, that will really help us to transform the way we conduct research and teach our classes. Our vision is to extend our boundaries, hence the new frontiers, to extend our boundaries in the way that we do our research, the way that we teach our classes, the way we develop our extension programs, to create new integrated multidisciplinary efforts, just as Dr. Waits described in his team at SST, for how we teach and conduct research, and to strengthen that feel of community that Suzanne mentioned among our students, staff, and faculty. So as a tease, I'll just share this little bit of the vision for that new building that we dream of. And it is that there will be a dairy bar that will be the centerpiece of our open floor plan. I'm still a newcomer, so I never experienced the dairy bar, but I've heard a lot of stories. And for a place that takes a lot of pride in the sense of community, it's clear that that was a centerpiece of that sense of community. So we'll have more to share in the months ahead. I look forward to sharing the updates with you as we make progress on our fundraising campaign and as we prepare for the groundbreaking and so on. Look for mailings in the near future that will describe a grand announcement of our campaign, and we'll make a big splash with that for the public phase of our campaign. I think it'll knock your socks off. Finally, this evening, we want to close with a word of thanks to our honorees. You are among a very impressive group, and we appreciate the opportunity that you've given us to celebrate your accomplishments. Thank you. The people we honor demonstrate how much we depend upon collaborations and the work of others to fulfill our land-grant mission. OSU is one of 107 land-grant colleges and universities in this great country. We have a unique mission here in Oklahoma and in the world to help people feed the world and care for the environment, our communities, and our families. And every day, you help make us more successful in achieving that vision, to inspire students, to make new discoveries, and to serve our fellow Oklahomans statewide. On behalf of all of us at OSU and everyone in agricultural sciences and natural resources, thank you for sharing this great evening with us. Safe travels home, and we hope to see you again here on campus very soon. Good night.